Good evening and welcome. I'm Bill Maley, Brightontown Supervisor, and this is the January 26th, 2022 meeting of the Brightontown Board. We're glad you're with us. We will begin the open forum portion of our meeting in just a little bit. That's the portion of the meeting where members of the public have the opportunity to share their comments with the town board. Now, if you're watching us on our YouTube live stream or the cable access channel, you will have to log into Zoom in order to access and participate in the open forum, but you'll have a little bit of time before we get there. If you're not sure how to do that, go to the Town of Brighton webpage and there are detailed instructions for doing so. And of course, the town's webpage is www.townofbrighton.org. We continue to make all of our town board meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community with our ASL interpreters. Tonight, Allie and Heather are our interpreters. Welcome and thank you very much. Just as a reminder, the agenda for tonight's meeting, as well as all the materials that we're looking at in making our decisions tonight, are also available on that Town of Brighton webpage. Again, www.townofbrighton.org. We'll start the meeting with a pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a proclamation tonight, a very important proclamation. Tomorrow, January 27th, is the International Holocaust Day of Remembrance. It's held each year on the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz and Birkenau. It is a solemn day, and a day that in normal times is observed with community events where people gather together to honor the blessed memory of those millions killed during the Holocaust, and also to give thanks to the survivors whose very lives are a blessing to each of us. Of course, these are not normal times, both because of COVID, which keeps us from coming together in person, but also because of incidents like the hostage taking at Congregation Beth Israel in Colleyville, Texas, in the hideous statements made by Robert Kennedy Jr. at an anti-vaccine march in Washington, D.C., where he made what I consider to be a despicable comparison of vaccine mandates to Anne Frank and the horrors of the Holocaust. Other incidents have occurred recently, so these are not normal times. And therefore, we must act with more than normal resolve to ensure that anti-Semitic hatred is never the norm, not here in Brighton, not in Rochester, or anywhere else in America or the world. I do want to mention one of the programs of the Jewish Federation of Greater Rochester, CHI, the Center for Holocaust Awareness and Information, which works to ensure that the Holocaust and the lessons of the Holocaust are never forgotten here in the Rochester area. Meredith Dragon, Executive Director of the Jewish Federation, is with us remotely to receive the proclamation, which I will read in just a moment. Susan Singer is also here. Susan heads up CHI, and Mona Kulko, who is Chairman of the board. Did I get that right, Mona?
President. Yes,
President, I'm sorry.
President, thank you. Thank you.
So let me read the proclamation. Whereas International Holocaust Remembrance Day marks the anniversary of the liberation of the Nazi concentration and extermination camp of Auschwitz-Birkenau on January 27, 1945. Whereas the Holocaust was the state-sponsored systematic persecution and annihilation of 6 million European Jews by Nazi Germany and its collaborators between 1933 and 1945. Non-Jews, such as Roma or Gypsies, people with disabilities, and Poles were also targeted for racial, ethnic, or national reasons, while millions more, including homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, political dissidents, and others, suffered grievous oppression and death under Nazi tyranny. Whereas Holocaust denial and distortion attempts to delegitimize the history of the Holocaust by twisting established facts about the extent and causes of the Nazi genocide. And if left unchecked, they threaten human rights and risk the continued promotion of conspiratorial thinking and violent extremism. And whereas the Jewish Federation of Rochester's Center for Holocaust Awareness and Information, or CHAI, is devoted to preserving and sharing the stories of local survivors of the Holocaust, and it curates a collection of books, videos, and survivor testimonies for use by the public. And it sponsors a speakers bureau, provides education lessons, and offers an immersive history of the Holocaust for teenagers. And whereas CHAI, the letters of which spell life in Hebrew, reminds us that together we bear the responsibility of remembering the Holocaust and educating others about the causes, consequences, and dynamics of such heinous crimes, so as to strengthen the resilience of young people and all of us against ideologies of hatred, particularly as we continue to witness the rise of anti-Semitism and hateful discourses in the United States and in countries around the globe. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brightontown Supervisor, and on behalf of all the members of the Brightontown Board, do hereby recognize January 27th, 2022 as International Holocaust Remembrance Day in the town of Brighton. We acknowledge the important work of the Center for Holocaust Awareness and Information, and we ask that the people of the town of Brighton always remember the terrible events of the Holocaust and remain vigilant against hatred and persecution. This proclamation is signed this 26th day of January, 2022. Meredith will get the hard copy of the proclamation to you, but would you or Susan or Mona, any or all of you like to make any comments?
I would be very happy to, Bill. I'm certainly happy to hand it over to Susan and Mona as well. First and foremost, I want to thank you and the town of Brighton for recognizing International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Obviously, this is an important commemoration in the Jewish community, and I think the community at large. And I think the Holocaust has the power to remind us of what happens when all forms of hate go unchecked, and how rhetoric and talk actually can lead to violence. And it was obviously incredible systematic violence that led to the killing of, as you said, millions of people, 6 million of whom were Jews, and 2 million of that 6 million were children. So, you know, this is within our lifetime. The Holocaust was not so long ago, and we still have at least 30 living survivors in our community who constantly speak to the impact that the Holocaust had on them and on their families. I would add that that this year marked a really interesting year in the Jewish world, because this year was the first year that the international Jewish population was finally at the number that it was prior to the Holocaust. It's taken many, many, many generations to recoup the kinds of loss that we had, only to get back to where we were. And it's truly significant. We still feel it. And I would say we feel it particularly right now. We know, we've seen it, we know the data and the statistics. There has been a tremendous, tremendous rise in anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic incidents. You mentioned Texas. We're not immune from it here in Rochester as well. Anti-Semitism has become more and more pervasive, and we see it everywhere. And just yesterday, again, horrible anti-Semitic flyers were distributed all over the United States, blaming COVID and the COVID pandemic on the Jews, which has been a trope over time that, that there is a Jewish conspiracy in the world. If only we had the numbers to conspire. We don't. We're only 0.2% of the international world population. So I thank you. I also leave you to Mona and Susan with a message and a request. And Bill, you and I have talked about this before. There's a very important definition of anti-Semitism that's endorsed internationally by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance. And it's a definition that calls out anti-Semitism and helps define it for all of us. And we would love from the Federation at some point in time, just like the US government has done, just like towns and governments have done across the United States, to consider adopting that definition in the town of Brighton. 50% of the Jewish community lives in Brighton. Obviously, there is a significant population here. A lot of our survivors are here. And certainly if it's something you'd consider at some point in time, we would be honored if the town of Brighton would consider adopting a definition that's endorsed in the way the IHRA definition is. So thank you for tonight. Thank you for the recognition. And I share sadness with you that we are living in times when civil discourse is so difficult, when we have trouble sitting down and meeting and talking with the other, and when disparate populations can't seem to actually discover and address that we have far more in common than we do in difference. And I hope that we reach a time when we actually can recognize that in all of us. So thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Meredith. That's certainly an appropriate ask in terms of adopting that definition. Let's move forward and can consider that. Mona, Susan, do either one of you?
I just had a couple of things that I just wanted to add to what Meredith spoke about so eloquently, and to also just echo my deep thanks and appreciation to you as a former Brighton resident, having defected to Pittsford.
We'd love to have you back.
I'll take that under advisement. I just only wanted to add that we know that anti-Semitism is the oldest of the isms. And we also know that it always starts with words. And so words matter. Words are so, so important, and words have consequences. And we have really suffered the consequences of words directed against us as a Jewish people, not just here, but around the world. And I just wanted to make that comment and to just express how significant it is that you have chosen to issue this proclamation this year, given everything that's been going on, in particular in the United States over the past several years, in terms of the anti-Semitic attacks, including on our places of worship around the country. We're feeling very brittle, very vulnerable, very frightened. We need your allyship.
Thank you. Well, again, I do appreciate those wise words. They are so important in these times. Thank you, Meredith, Mona, Susan. Susan, did you want to add anything further? I'm sorry.
I just wanted to thank you. As the daughter of a survivor, this proclamation is so meaningful to the community, to Brighton, to the remaining survivors that live here, it is truly appreciated.
And I know that while we cannot gather together in person, you do have some electronic or online activities. Meredith, do you want to just let the community know about those?
Yeah, so tomorrow night, actually, there is a program that's sponsored by High. There's a viewing of a movie called Starfish, and it's such an interesting story about a survivor family. And it's a beautiful story. It just so happens the Federation has actually been involved in a project to shed light on anti-Semitism, and the company that actually supplied the lights to us that we've been using is the Starfish story. It's the grandson of a survivor who was hidden in Sweden. I won't tell the story because then I will ruin the movie for you. But he did end up surviving and came to the United States and founded this electric company. Just so happens this electric company supplied the light bulbs that we're using right now. So everything is connected. So there's that program tomorrow night. There's also a program through Nazareth College and the Konar Center tomorrow night as well. And then throughout the year, periodically, we have programs that usually leads up to Yom HaShoah, which is the Jewish commemoration of the Holocaust in the spring, which is always a program that's open to the entire community. And again, we hope that this spring we'll actually be able to have that program in person and not virtually. But as you can imagine, our survivors are fairly old and we want to be careful how much we expose them. So we'll know more as we get closer to the spring, whether that program will be in person or virtual. And we still supply survivors to speak in classrooms and to speak with students all across the city. And over the years, thousands and thousands of students within the city have had the opportunity to meet our survivors and understand their stories. So we will continue that work, as you mentioned in the proclamation, and we're always happy to keep you abreast of the work that we're doing with High.
And that's an opportunity that students in so many parts of the country do not have. And it is so important that the Federation and High are working together to make sure that that history is not just in a book. There's nothing more powerful than talking and listening with survivors and their families in person. So thank you all for making that possible. I look forward to joining you tomorrow night, albeit remotely. Thank you.
Bill.
You are certainly welcome to stay, but don't feel as though you have to stay. But
I appreciate that. I have to go give my family dinner, actually.
that's a high priority. But again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Next, tonight we have a presentation from RG&E concerning plans that RG&E has for a significant gas main replacement project along Winton Road in Brighton, scheduled to begin, I believe, in April. Now, later on tonight's agenda, the town board will be asked to set a public hearing to consider a local law that will allow a temporary amendment to the town's noise law to allow that portion of the work on this project that is in the immediate 12 Corners area to be done at night. That request is being made because both the state and Monroe County Department of Transportation have expressed concerns as to the impact of this work on not only on Winton Road, which of course is a county road, but also on Elmwood Avenue, which is also a county road, and on Monroe Avenue, which is a state road. Obviously, road construction work has noise, light, and other impacts, vibrations sometimes when it's done at night. So I've asked RG&E's team to come in tonight to talk not only about the reason they're asking for this amendment to allow night work, but also to give a presentation about the entire project to the community. As you will hear, the town also requested and RG&E agreed, and they'll be holding a remote community meeting online on February 10th. And also, if the town board approves the resolution tonight, a formal public hearing that will be held on the proposed temporary noise law amendment at the town board meeting on February 23rd. So I will now turn the meeting over, I think, to Brittany Tate and Stacy Bartle to make that presentation, and Patrick Connolly, I'm not sure if you're part of the presentation as well, but in any event, I will turn it over to the RG&E team to talk about this project. And thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for bringing the community up to speed about this pretty significant project.
Yeah, thank you for having us. You kind of started to go over it, but I'd like to just start with our project team. So my name's Brittany. I am the owner's engineer and the project manager for this project. Stacy will be our main contact to the public. She is our public outreach specialist. We have Patrick Connolly with us, who is our consultant designer from DDS. And then additionally, my supervisor is on the call as well, Mike Dorfner. So to start, do I have access to sharing my screen? I don't know if I do, or we can just have a discussion.
I think you do.
Okay.
I have
Yes.
the presentation, Brittany, if you want me to share mine.
Sure, that would be great, Stacy.
Okay, let's do that. Okay,
There
can
you
we
go.
see it?
Yep.
Awesome.
Okay. So we kind of went over this. This is our project team. If you could go to the next slide, Stacy. As the supervisor said, this is a pretty lengthy project that we're doing. So we are replacing the current gas main from Newton Drive, right across from the high school, up to the northern extent of Palmerston Road, just south of Highland. So we're looking at about a mile of replacement. And then specifically what we're here tonight to discuss is the night work that is being requested by the county and the state at the immediate 12 Corners intersection, which is this blue line depicted on the screen here. So that would be the southern limit of approximately Greenwich Drive to the northern limit of Chelmsford Road. The overall scope of our project is to replace a late 1940s 12-inch steel gas main with a more modern and current, up to current safety standards 16-inch steel gas main. So that would be RG&E's initial scope, and then the county and the state have asked us to, as part of our project, mill and resurface the roadway from curb to curb through the whole project extents. So at the end, during our restoration phase, we will be doing that as well. As the supervisor said, we're looking to start in early spring, so April of this year, with completion at the end of construction season in November of 2022.
Okay, at this point, we just want to take a minute to explain the public outreach effort and function. Our public outreach team has been developed in response to the need to do better in terms of communicating to our customers and letting them know what we're doing and getting their feedback, implementing it into our plans as we go. So as Brittany already introduced, I manage the public outreach efforts for RG&E. And as such, we have a very comprehensive and robust plan for this project. Our guiding principles are that we design with the community in mind. We take great efforts to put ourselves in the perspective of our impacted stakeholders How would we feel if this was being done in front of our house, our backyard, our children's schools, our neighborhood, et cetera? We're committed to providing safe and reliable service to all our valued customers. Safety is paramount and is always, always, always our top priority. We're dedicated to being a good community partner, earning your trust, and working collaboratively throughout the project life cycle with all of our stakeholders. We prioritize sharing your perspective, and we believe in providing ongoing and transparent communication as we work to upgrade and maintain this gas project on your behalf. So just so you know where our main values and our priorities are. So project challenges, as the supervisor said, this is a big project. There's no doubt about it. It's going to take place in a densely populated and extremely heavily traveled roadway. We've got, the 12 corners, 3 adjacent intersections, and we've got an extremely high volume of foot traffic and motor traffic, cars and such. We've got our walkers, we've got our pedestrians, we've got our crossing guards. Just about everything that we could have right there in that area, we've got. We've got a very engaged and vocal in residential population. We've got a lot of commercial businesses. We're working with the chamber. We've got the schools, the high school, the middle school. We've got buses, walkers, extracurricular activities, sporting events. We've got our public safety agencies, our fire, police, and ambulance. And then we've got the one-offs, the 5K, the farmers market, all sorts of activities to take into account and consider. So why are we doing all this? What's in it for everybody here? Well, the upgraded system will improve the safety and reliability of the entire gas main due to more stringent safety standards in effect now as compared to those when the system was initially installed in the late 1940s. Increased reliability will be produced as the potential for gas leaks and inefficiencies are minimized. All good news there. There will be no noticeable above grade changes or impacts to the construction area, and the new gas system will safely provide exceptional service to the community for many, many years to come. So we're not going to have to go through this again anytime soon. We're going to provide all sorts of communication channels to our public. We've got a specific project phone number dedicated exclusively to this project, which will provide 24/7 response. We have a public outreach email, and we also have ongoing updates on our website at rgne.com under the reliability project section. Then for our town officials and public service use, Brittany and I will make, and whoever our field construction manager, when that person is assigned, we will make our personal cell phones available to those people for urgent matters. And then this has another listing of our informational resources. We have a project fact sheet, which I can share in a minute, and there's an image of it on my next slide. That's on our website. It will also be included in all mailings to the impacted stakeholders. An FAQ document is in production right now, frequently asked questions, kind of the who, what, when, where, why kind of thing. We will post regular project updates on our website. And as I showed on the previous slide, we have a dedicated email and phone number, which go directly to me. And then we have our construction and notification update letters prior to construction, during construction, for anything out of the ordinary, whether it's extended work hours or, one-offs, maybe a Saturday here or there, or any kind of thing like that. We will communicate that well in advance so that people can plan accordingly. Door hangers for those people that may have their driveway or their sidewalk impacted for a few hours or something like that. We're hitting it from all different directions so that everybody's informed and there are no surprises whatsoever. We don't want anybody blindsided or surprised or said they didn't know about it. So we're working with the town and the supervisor to make sure that we're doing all our due diligence and informing everyone who needs to know. So this is kind of a snapshot of our fact sheet here. I know it's a little hard to see, but it's a two-sided branding kind of marketing tool of sorts, but it's in layman's terms. It's not technical in nature, but it's chock full of very useful, let me make it a little bigger for you, information, the project overview, our scope, the benefits to the region. We've got our timeline here, we've got the map, and above all, we've got our contact information here, all sorts of different channels so people can contact us. So that's the presentation that we like to share with our major stakeholders. We also have another presentation that we would be showing at the public hearing. I don't want to go through all of this and take up too much time, but it's basically what you just saw. It's just kind of in a more condensed format for our for the public meeting attendees. Same information, nice and clear, factual, all the different channels of communication of that sort. So like I said, we're going to great pains to make sure everybody is aware, opening up our conversation to take their input, consider concerns and contingencies and planning accordingly.
Great, thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Brittany. Members of the town board, do you have any questions that you would like to ask? Obviously, we'll have an additional opportunity in a few minutes when we get to the item of new business, but if there are any issues you want to address now, whether it's specifically related to the night work or other aspects of the project. Stacy, one question I had, the cell phone that you referenced, will that be the cell phone that would be used to, if there's an immediate, for example, if the backup alarm on one of the trucks is stuck and going off and we get calls saying we're all being wakened up by this backup alarm that won't stop, is that the number that we here at the town would call to alert you to that problem? Or will, I mean, and let me just say, not just us, that a resident, that
Sure.
the poor resident who is wakened up at 2 in the morning, is that the number that will be publicized to them that they would call?
Yes.
Or,
Yes,
okay.
this 888-364-5554 number. It is our intention to have someone fielding those calls 24/7. So during the day, it will be Brittany and I most likely, and then during the night hours, it will be our field construction manager.
Wonderful, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know it's not directly related to the noise issue, but you did address another issue that I had raised with a change in the traffic plan. If you don't mind, if you can talk just a little bit about your detour plans for traffic on Winton.
Sure. So this plan is not set in stone. We've reached out to the other agencies, being the City of Rochester and the State DOT, to ask if we can use their right-of-ways for a detour around our work zone. So if we're looking at the project map here, our newest for that, granted we get approval from all of the other agencies, would be to have a normal flow of northbound traffic along Winton Road during our construction hours. And then anybody who would be heading southbound on Winton Road would detour west on Highland and then southeast on Monroe, where they could get to any northbound businesses or residences by taking that slight detour and then heading north to get into those places. And then southbound traffic would be slightly detoured around and then would continue south once they got back to that intersection at Winton. So that is what we're looking to do for the majority of our day work now. That is in quite preliminary stages as far as reaching out to those other agencies, but Patrick can speak a little more about maybe how far we are along with that and thus far.
At this point, we have verbals from the agencies involved because we are going down a city street, being Highland Ave, the State Road, Monroe Ave, and working with the town, of course, and the county route too. All of these agencies need to provide some level of approval of what we are doing, and each one has been approached verbally, and we are putting it together a formal set of plans for submission now for approval.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I appreciate your responsiveness to what was a pretty significant concern of mine, the impact of if there was traffic being flagged so close to the 12 corners, how how likely it was that it would back up into and through the 12 corners, causing even greater traffic disruption on Monroe and Elmwood. So thank you for doing that outreach. And I trust that our friends at the city and the state DOT will, that everybody will be able to work out a plan that works. And of course, I appreciate the fact that there won't be any official detours through the neighborhoods. We know that projects like these can be challenging for neighborhoods, not only because of the direct impact, but also because sometimes people unfortunately use neighborhood streets to avoid it. I'll just say, and I know Chief Cathaldi is here tonight, when there was a detour a couple of years ago on Winton Road because of work on the bridge and culvert over Buckland Creek near Greenwich, and traffic was rerouted. The police department was very vigilant in terms of policing the neighborhoods and wrote a whole bunch of tickets. So I'll just put that in everybody's mind that if there is, assuming that there is a detour, please use the official detour, and please don't feel like you gotta speed up to make up for whatever 15-30 seconds of lost time. Plan for it. This is going to be a significant project. It will, I know, have some significant and challenging impacts on all of us. But safety, like you said, I hope that everybody will keep safety front of mind throughout this work. Any other questions that board members have or staff has?
Supervisor, this is Tom Attorney Gordon. If I could just ask a couple questions about sequencing. It sounds to me like we have a project here that might be lasting about 7 months or so. Does anyone from RG&E have a sense as to the sequencing of when the night work in that 7-month period is likely to take place? Is it going, because it's in the close proximity to the schools, is it going to take place after the end of the school year and before the beginning of the fall school year? Or what are your plans relative to sequencing?
So we don't have a contractor on board to get definitive timelines, but we are going to work the project from the northern end to the southern end, ideally targeting any work in the 12 corners and south of there to be while school is out. That would be the main gas work portion, just due to sequencing. Some of the milling and resurfacing will likely happen after school starts again, just due to the duration of the project. So while we're not exactly sure, if they'll be there May, June, July in that intersection and south of there, that is what we've committed to do, is not working in front of the school as much as possible and fitting that work in during the summer months.
And just something to think about as you're developing that schedule. Typically, we see night work commence around the 6 or 7 o'clock evening hour and end around the 7 a.m. morning hour. If the contractor is in proximity to the school during the school year, it might be beneficial to have them stop work no later than about 6 in the morning, because the school area does get busy around 7 a.m.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I think that was the intention, was to be, out of the roadway and try to not affect morning traffic from cleaning up from our night work.
And then the last thing I would just suggest is please do take a look at the draft local law that we have put together for the town board to set a public hearing on tonight. Obviously, that public hearing is not going to take place until February 23rd, but if you have questions or input relative to the terms of that local law, because there are a bunch of conditions in there that will be imposed on RG&E and its contractors, please do get in touch with either the supervisor or me.
Okay, well, I will note that. Thank you.
And just to follow up on that, currently our plans call for the end of night work to stop at 6 a.m.
Okay, good. And I know there has been now some dialogue with the school district, and that, of course, will be ongoing as well, just to make sure that the unique concerns that the district has with 2 buildings, staggered start times, and so many people walking, crossing guards, will all be addressed as part of the work. And that continued outreach with them and with us is important, but it's appreciated.
Absolutely, yes.
Anything else that anybody has? Any questions or comments or concerns? Then, if you don't mind, I would ask that you at least stay with us until we take action on that setting the public hearing for the local law, and we'll try to get you there as quickly as possible after our committee reports.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we will now enter the open forum. The open forum is an opportunity for the public to address the town board about matters, whether or not they're on our agenda tonight. We may not respond to your questions, particularly if they relate to matters that are not before the board this evening, but I assure you that we listen and we take your input seriously. If you would like to address the board during the open forum, as I mentioned earlier, you must join this meeting on Zoom if you haven't already done so. Please use the raised hand function in Zoom if you do intend to speak during the open forum. Each speaker will have up to 3 minutes to address the board, and I'll advise you when you have 30 seconds left. Please address your comments to the board and not to other speakers. Our goal here tonight and during the open forum that we hold at every regular town board meeting is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen to your words. So is there anybody here tonight that would like to address the board during the open forum? Bridget, I don't see anybody.
No, there is not anyone waiting in the waiting room at this time.
Okay, and I don't see anybody with their hands raised. So in that case, we will move on from the
Bill?
open forum. Yes.
Bill, I move that we approve the agenda.
Thank you, Chris. Can I have a second?
Second, Christine.
Discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
We're not hearing you very well, Dan. Maybe your volume is down low.
I vote aye.
Aye.
Dan, I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Well, I vote aye. I think I'm next in line.
And Jason?
I voted aye.
Okay. And I vote aye. I see that Mr. Gluck has entered the meeting, the waiting room. I'm going to admit him, and I believe I anticipate that he's here to ask to speak during the open forum. So I have admitted Mr. Gluck, and Mr. Gluck, if you would, if you're here to speak during the open forum, if you would raise your hand, and we'll give you that opportunity. Okay, go ahead then, Mr. Gluck, if you would please state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Bill, first off, thank you for the presentation of the proclamation tonight. I really do appreciate it. As a Jew with family members that perished in the Holocaust, I certainly appreciate the recognition. However, here's my concern. Back in May of 2021, why were you silent when Robin Wilt attended and participated in a hate speech anti-Israel rally? She clapped to show her support during a down, down with Israel chant, and from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Okay, those are chants that evolve into anti-Semitism, but yet you were silent, you didn't say a word, you didn't call her out, no public statement, nothing. She stated, and this is a paraphrase, it's not a quote, but this is what she said: if you don't back the Palestinians against Israel, then you have blood on your hands. How divisive, how hateful, how you know, that gets interpreted as a anti-Semitic statement. And she tweeted, okay, when the House brought up a bill to fund the Iron Dome, only 9 Democrats voted against it. So it was a rather large, bipartisan, agreed funding of Israel, a strategic defensive military hardware system, the Iron Dome, and she tweeted her opposition to that. And you're silent. So it's great to have a proclamation, but when you got somebody sitting on the board that's you know, supporting hate speech, that's tweeting her opposition to Israel, it's divisive. It hurts. Okay, that's it. You were silent, Bill, but I'm glad you opened your mouth tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Gluck. I don't see anybody else here for the open forum. We went back to the open forum. So I will now continue on with the agenda for tonight's meeting, to committee reports. And we'll start with the Community Services Committee. Robin.
Thank you, Bill. The Community Services Committee met on Wednesday, January 19th, 2022. And among the items that we discussed were, in continuing business, park issues. The Parks Department is busy setting up 2022 contracts and scoping potential projects. Parks, especially trails, continue to see heavy use. We seem to be receiving a higher volume of requests for snow removal, but some trails are simply not well suited for accommodating snow removal equipment. And seeing as snow cover on trails allows for wider range of active and passive recreation options, current policy of not plowing trails will continue for the foreseeable future. One exception may be the canal trail between Edgewood Avenue and Kendrick Street, where we're exploring with our jurisdictional partners. Lodge maintenance projects are ongoing as opportunity arises. In the recreation programs, winter spring program registration has begun. Offerings have been very well received by the community, and program registrations are proceeding apace. Contracts for 2022 are being completed with vendors. We're looking towards summer facility planning for camps and our programming to continue to adjust recreation operations based on COVID safety protocols. Brighton Senior Grab and Go meal program is continuing as COVID exigencies endure. There's been a commitment ongoing by staff to provide low-cost nutritional meal options, and we continue to explore vendor options to meet those goals. The AARP basic task appointments have returned as an offering, much to the pleasure of the community, and work on the community center feasibility study continues. An update to our winter farmers market development. 3 renderings for phase 2 will probably have been presented to the January Architectural Review Board for input. An update to our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board. The January meeting was canceled amid co-chair and consultant time constraints, but progress on the idea plan has been steady, and the timetable is still to present a draft plan to the Community Services Committee as soon as practicable, and then on to the town board. The new full-time staff diversity position job description is being developed in accordance with the civil service process, and we hope to be able to fill that role in accordance with the 2022 budget soon. An update to the community choice and community solar aggregation plans programs. Our vendor Rocktricity published a story on Brighton's success with the CCA on the Monroe Community Power website. We're looking ahead toward our 2-year contract conclusion already, and we'll anticipate going out to bid again in the second half of the year. Discussion of potential challenges upon contract conclusion due to market uncertainty were discussed. We discussed issues with accurate billing, in particular budget billing, customers from RG&E. And we also discussed the expanded solar for all application to the Public Service Commission from NYSERDA and National Grid, in light of our community having already passed the enabling law for opt-out community solar, which gives us a grandfather status. We also discussed our continuing efforts at our clean energy community, priority actions, and sustainability funds. We had discussion of charging stations and possible locations, and just where installation might make the most sense within the community, given the infrastructure challenges. And we also had a discussion of the expansion of our pollinator habitat locally. And we had some discussion with regard to the Urban League of Rochester, Town of Brighton First Time Home Buyer Program. In particular, we're continuing discussions with KeyBank on a potential program for Brighton and weighing all of our options to find the best program fit. In addition to that, we had some updates to our Clean Sweep 2022 return. We're very thankful that Wegmans has confirmed their donation of subs for the event, and we also have obtained our permitting from Monroe County Department of Transportation. We will continue with our sponsorship requests, both monetary and in kind, and our school facilities have also been confirmed. Then we finalized our 2022 Community Services Committee calendar. And under items of new business, our 2021 Brightontown Historian Report was delivered by Mary Jo Lanphier, our town historian. We do have that report attached to the official minutes. The town historian has been very busy this year, both in person and on Zoom. In particular, there was a partnership with SUNY Geneseo students to develop a repository center for public history in the region that led to a very fruitful collaboration for the town. Ms. Lanphier worked on identifying restrictive covenants and research archives, resulting in an article on restrictive covenants in historic Brighton and a PowerPoint presentation about their history. The Brightontown mural has been researched and a draft report has been submitted for review. We're looking to have some sort of unveiling or acknowledgement of that work in November for Indigenous Peoples Month to explain the murals and correct misleading interpretations. And we will present that narrative explaining the murals. We continue to work with the Historic Preservation Committee, identifying historic homes for historic designation based on either occupants of the house or the significance of the house in terms of notable architects or other identifying features. And very interestingly, we worked on a project of biographies of past town supervisors, and we'll be moving on to town clerks. There was a brief discussion of the United Nations Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons that was signed in January of 2020. The discussion was tabled. One of the community members who brought this to our attention was not able to attend the meeting. In terms of upcoming events, we have the National DEA Pharmaceutical Take Back event that will be on Saturday, April 30th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing, 2300 Elmwood Avenue. Again, we will have Brighton Clean Sweep on Saturday, May 7th, beginning at the Brighton Town Hall, 2300 Elmwood Avenue. That will then progress over to French Road Elementary School for our concluding ceremony. That will be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then our semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event will next take place on Sunday, May 15th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. That is at the Brighton Highway Department parking lot, 1941 Elmwood Avenue. And the next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside Recreation Center. As always, members of the public are invited to attend, and we will be masking and social distancing as per our usual protocol. So if you do have an interest in attending, we do ask that you contact our recreation department. That number is 585-784-5260, extension 0, to let us know that you will be joining us so that we can safely accommodate everyone. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Finance Committee, Jason.
Yes, Bill, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Tuesday, January 18th. In addition to our committee members and our staff members, we also had a member of the public who attended, and that was Town of Arundequoit Council Member Patrina Freeman. In Arundequoit, they do work sessions. Their town board meets twice a month, once in a work session to vet all of the items that are developing, and then another meeting that's public like ours where they vote on their matters. Whereas we divide ours into committees where there's 4 separate committees, and each of the items that need to be vetted go through their respective committees before then being presented to town board to vote. So It's just interesting to see how our neighboring municipalities handle their town business. And it was a welcome, and Councilmember Freeman was definitely a welcome guest at our meeting. But with respect to the items of business, each of those items will be presented at tonight's town board meeting and discussed and voted on in further detail. Our next meeting will be held on Tuesday, February 1st, and we meet at 3:30 in the afternoon in the main auditorium at Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thank you, Jason. Next, I got to think about this because we changed things up. Public Safety Committee, Chris Warner. Chris.
Thank you very much, Bill. Bill, we've not had another public safety meeting since we last reported on the January 11th meeting at our last town board meeting, but I did do the rounds of the various chiefs for an interim report. First, the Chief Hiller of the Brighton Fire Department wanted me to just remind the community about safety with space heaters. Obviously, there was a terrible tragedy downstate in the last few weeks, and space heaters are commonly used, particularly this very cold time of year, and they can be dangerous. Plug them directly into outlets. Do not use extension cords. Extension cords may not be robust enough to handle the load from a space heater, overheat, and start a fire themselves. If you leave the room, turn off the space heater. Turn off the space heater, particularly when you go to bed. Keep flammable items at least 3 feet away, and use space heaters that have a tip over auto shut off as well. So that if an animal knocked it over or a child, it would automatically shut off. An additional item regarding fire safety, folks, we've got snow on the ground. You need to clear out around your fire hydrants. If you've got a fire hydrant near your home or anywhere along the street, be a good scout and get out there and shovel out around that fire hydrant so that the fire department can come, hook up their hoses, and start spraying that water on the fire as soon as possible. Chief Tomachko of the Volunteer Ambulance Department indicated some concern about folks waiting too long to contact your provider if you do test positive with COVID. This can, if you do delay, you may delay the EMS in the triage line at the hospital, and as well getting your care at the hospital because they are above capacity. So engage your primary care provider early if you develop symptoms in day 1 or day 2. This will ensure timely treatment when and if symptoms worsen, and avoid clogging up the emergency room and delays once you get to the hospital. They're already doing planning for the RG&E Winton Road project as well. They do have concerns about traffic backing up, and there is a sign near the BVA base on Westfall which will direct people not to block their exit. They also have, so if there's a traffic backup, please don't block the exit that's coming up here in the next couple of months. Also, there were concerns that if the traffic is backed up, emergency vehicles will need to use oncoming lanes to get down and respond to the emergency with obvious safety concerns. So please do plan the alternate routes, as the RG&E folks have told you about already. Mike Guyan said that of course, the plows are out, and he cautions drivers, please don't follow too close behind the plow trucks. We realize they're a bit slower than normal traffic, but let them do their work, and do not try to sneak up along the right side of the truck at intersections, because they may turn to your vehicle. He also reminds us that it's illegal to plow snow across the public roadway. They do make an effort trying to educate contractors that do plow driveways and such, not to plow out into the street. Also, if you're a snow blower person like I am, I know it's very tempting to just blow it out into the street knowing that the plow will take it away. Don't do that. Watch out if you are plowing your own driveway, you're shoveling your own driveway. When you're shoveling, realize that plow is going to come down the street at some point. Now, when they fill your driveway back in, after you've just cleared out the end of it, please just wave and give them a big smile and wave with your complete hand. They're doing a great job. Also, we did have a interaction with Chief Cataldi, and I believe he's on the meeting here. And Chief, you wanted to fill us in on a couple of items.
You're muted, Chief.
I apologize. I'm a little rusty with the with the Zoom. We had a pretty robust discussion about catalytic converter thefts that have been occurring not only in the town of Brighton but countywide. I gave you some numbers. We had about 35 catalytic converter thefts in 2021. They are still currently plaguing us. There is a task force that we are a part of. I assured you then, and I will assure you now that we are working with our partner agencies here in Monroe County. Actually attended a meeting today with the sheriff and several other law enforcement representatives to include some of the scrap dealers, not only here in Monroe County, but some of the adjacent counties. So we are working on it. It has come to the, it's on our radar. So more to follow, hopefully. Also, this week, we are doing our ABLE training, our active bystandership for law enforcement. Generally, what that is we have a duty to intercede policy, and it's very easy to put a written policy into place, but it's sometimes difficult in practice and in theory. So bring some of the social sciences to bear. It's an 8-hour course that's being taught by our own instructors. I know we had some support from the community to be able to bring the ABLE program, which is nationally recognized here to Brighton. I had letters of support from community members, from you, Supervisor Malley, from Dr. Tabasam Javed, the president of the Islamic Center. Rabbi Peter Stein also wrote letters of support. 2 weeks from now, we'll be following that up with our procedural justice training. Again, an 8-hour block. So we have a lot of training that we're doing here in the winter months during the, I'll say, quote unquote, slow season. It's really never slow. We have made some significant arrests. We had a burglary arrest just a few weeks back at the end of December. We hope that has put an end to our burglary pattern that we saw, and we hope to get some clearances from that arrest. The gentleman's still in jail. I think I've covered everything, Councilmember Warner, unless there's something else you wanted me to cover.
Well, Chief, thanks very much. And our next meeting will be on February the 8th. At 8 o'clock a.m. And the public is always invited. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. And I just want to add to what the chief said, because the policy that the Brighton Police Department has concerning bystanders, in other words, other police officers that are on the scene that witness an officer acting outside of policy or outside of the law, is a policy that the Brighton Police Department had in place before the murder of Daniel Prude, before situations where that issue became very visible to the public. But I think this ABLE training takes it a step farther. It's one thing to have it in words, but the training and the nature of the training is such that it will, I think, help make it real. We know that given the nature of law enforcement agencies, it can be challenging, particularly when you're dealing with differences in rank. But the kind of training that I understand you're going to be using through the ABLE program will really help address that, so that officers of all levels will A, understand what our existing policies require of them, and B, make it easier for them to act on what that policy requires them to do. So that was the reason I supported it when you brought the idea to us, and I think it's another indication of your commitment and the entire department's commitment to not only community policing, but community policing that is done with an eye towards justice, which is, after all, what the heart of the criminal justice system is supposed to be all about. So thank you for that update, and thank you, Chris. And we'll end with Public Works with Christine.
Thank you. And I think I'm going to like this sweep position, Chris. You managed to cover everything that I might have touched on in relation to Public Works. Thank you very much to you and to Mike for getting that update pulled together. The Public Works Committee has not met since the last town board meeting. You have all heard the update and good guidance from Chris Werner about safety in regards to street clearing. The crews are working very, very hard to keep up with this remarkable amount of snow we're getting. It's nice to have a real winter. And I'm only going to add that sensible salting requires sensible driving. Brighton Public Works uses minimal salt, just the right amount. It is part of our commitment to staying green and sustainable, but that means you need to be smart when you're on the roads. While the crews are doing an outstanding job clearing the roads, it's not like driving on dry pavement. The next meeting of the Public Works Committee will be February 1st at 9 a.m. in Town Hall. We are adhering to COVID safety protocols. So if you intend to attend the meeting, please do give Town Hall a call in advance at 784-5252. Just so we have the heads up, we will adhere to social distancing, masking. If you have matters for the agenda, you are welcome to send them to me or to any of the members of the committee, and you can find contact information on the website at townofbrighton.org/Public Works Committee. And that is all.
Thanks, Christine. I think you win for shortest. That's a good thing.
Well, I'm the shortest council member, so it makes sense.
We all win.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, is my mic working now?
Yes, it is.
Oh, good. We all win.
True that. All right, we will go on to new business. Jason, reading and approval of claims.
Yes, Bill. Yesterday I reviewed claims totaling $1,788,763.83. Notable claims include to the Brighton Fire District in the amount of $800,000, representing partial payment for 2022 real property taxes collected in the month of January. Also to the Depository Trust Company in the amount of $11,817.50, representing semi-annual interest payments on 2017, 2018, and 2021 serial bonds issued. Also to the Henrietta Fire District in the amount of $200,000, representing partial payment for 2022 real property taxes collected during the month of January. Also to Insight Architecture in the amount of $12,023.99, representing partial payment for design and construction services per approved contract for the Farmers Market Phase 3 project. And finally, to SWBR Architects in the amount of $14,977.92, representing partial payment for services related to the Parks and Recreation feasibility study. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second, Robin.
Thank you both. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Aye. The next item is to set a public hearing for the local law to amend the noise control law, and I will ask Christine if you would make that motion, please.
Certainly. On the matter of setting a public hearing for a local law to amend the noise control law temporarily to accommodate gas main work on Winton Road, I move that we set a public hearing on February 23rd, 2022 at 7:30 p.m. To adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
And if I drafted the resolution to read 7:30, I apologize.
I was just going to say. It
You
should be
did, but it's approximately the right time. Maybe that's what you were thinking, but I will
Seven,
correct
yes.
that to say February 23rd, 2022 at 7 p.m. And
Yes.
we trust that the correction will be made to the record.
Thank you. And in your motion, it did reference the resolution as prepared by the town attorney, I
Yes.
believe. Can I have a second?
Second.
I heard Chris Warner, I think. Discussion. Obviously, we had an opportunity to hear the full presentation from RG&E. But are there any additional questions that anybody would like to ask before we vote on this? Hearing none, then Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Thank you, everybody, for your presentation tonight and for sticking around so we could take that action. I know we'll be talking. There'll be dialogue with some of the rest of us from the town, but in any event, we look forward to the community meeting on February 10th. And Stacy, I know we'll be talking and probably with Bridget as much as anything about making sure that the public is aware of that and is able to get in and participate. And again, I do appreciate the work that you have already done and the work that you've done to begin to address concerns that I raised with this. This is going to be a very, very significant project. No matter how well it's carried off, it will be disruptive in a number of ways. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here and listening to our concerns and the public concerns. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate all of your time and the ongoing communication and dialogue. So together we'll get through this and we'll make it a resounding success.
Great. Again, you're welcome to stay, but please, none of you should feel as though you have to, as we do go through the rest of the business we have tonight.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
You are welcome. And I'll keep going with you here, Christine, the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Pittsford.
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Pittsford for the provision of snow and ice control along that portion of Allens Creek Road with the town of Pittsford for a term effective November 1, 2021 through April 30th, 2022, with the option of 4 annual seasonal renewals. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Can I have a second, please?
Second, Robin.
This, of course, is an agreement that we've had in place for many years. And as we explain, both ends of Allens Creek Road are in Brighton, the middle's in Pittsford. It just makes sense for our truck to continue down Allens Creek Road in Pittsford with the blade down, doing that plowing. They pay us, Mike, at the county, at our rate that we have with the county DOT for plowing county streets and roads. So it's a small but a good example of intermunicipal cooperation. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Robin, the next one, please.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement with Geese Control of New York from April 1st, 2022 through November 30th, 2022 for geese control. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second, Christine.
Again, this is an arrangement that we have had in place for many years and has served us well, helps us regulate goose population and activity in a humane way. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Chris Werner. You're muted.
Sorry, Bill. The next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute an agreement to accept stop DWI grants, from Monroe County in an amount totaling $11,118.08. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
You know, I think if we had started fining everybody for every time they started talking when they were muted, we could have a significant impact on town finances. Again, this is a program that we have participated with the county for many years, and helps fund DWI traffic enforcement. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye, and Chris, why don't you do this one as well?
Bill, the next item is to authorize the supervisor to execute a post-employment contract with retired police investigator Mark Liberatori for services related to an upcoming trial. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second, Robin.
Any discussion on that, or again, this is has been ongoing. Dave, I don't know if you want to add anything, but we've discussed it.
Yeah, it's, as you said, this is hopefully going to be the last contract with retired investigator Liberator. He's the case agent relative to that homicide. And hopefully it's going to go to trial soon. It probably already would have went to trial if not for COVID delays, but this should be the last contract.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Jason.
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor or personnel director to issue purchase orders with Northern Star Medical and Rochester Regional Occupational for occupational health services and cancel the current agreement with Strong UR Medicine Occupation Health for said services. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
As you know, we have been working with Strong for a number of years. However, they have recently made a decision that they're only going to provide occupational health services within the U of R workforce. So we, and I'm sure some other communities, had to go out, identify other providers, and at our Director of Personnel's recommendation, Tricia Van Putty, she felt that two firms that submitted proposals, both of which submitted excellent proposals, very, very similar or almost identical in terms of pricing, so that we would authorize using either one of them, depending on which one was more convenient at any given time. So that's the recommendation. And we have that motion and seconded. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll on that motion.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Back to you, Chris, for this hire.
First, I will unmute.
Well done.
The next item is to approve the hire of Aubrey Needham as a police officer. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second, Christine.
Chief, if you would like to.
Sure, as you can see from the smile on my face, this will finally bring us up to full staffing. It's been over 2 years since I've been the chief. We've been in really a hiring phase and a transition phase. And Mr. Needham comes from the Ontario County Sheriff's Department. He has an associate's degree in environmental studies from Finger Lakes Community College. Came highly recommended by the community interview panel, which, as you know, we implemented earlier last year. They actually had rave reviews about him. So I'm really looking forward to him starting here in a couple of weeks. He comes to us trained as a trained evidence technician, a field training officer, and a commercial vehicle inspector. We obviously won't put him to work in those specific categories right away, but he will serve those trainings that he has will serve us well in the future.
Thanks, Chief. And I see Christine nodding her head as one of the members of that civilian hiring panel. So I think we've got a good one. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Next are 3 related matters that, again, I will ask you to do, Chris, all relating to a reorganization in the police department to create the position of deputy chief and promote current Captain Mike Desane into that position and do a bunch of other important things relating to that, like making sure that he gets paid. So while we will take votes on these individually, they are all related. So I'll let you do the first one and then we'll go in order to the next two.
Bill, the first item is to approve the creation of the position of Deputy Chief of Police and amend the police department's organizational chart to reflect this position and the removal of 1 police captain. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second, Jason.
Any discussion? Anything, Chief, you'd like to say before we take action on all 3 of these?
Sure, yes. So the next 3 resolutions, as you mentioned, are all interrelated. The first one is really administrative, behind the scenes, some of the things that I have to do when I work with the finance director and personnel director and Monroe County Civil Service to create this position. I think it's going to better align with some of the responsibilities that I have intended for the captain, hopefully soon to be Deputy Chief Michael Desane. As you know, we have went through tremendous organizational change. It's been a time these last 2 years with everything. Our profession has really come under the microscope. And we've had a lot of turnover, historic turnover at the senior level. And what I'm really looking to do here is give Captain Desane a little bit more oversight over both divisions rather than have separate captains under one each division. So he's going to assist Captain Caraballo in overseeing the administrative division, staff services. It's a new position for the captain. And he is going to need some help in that. And so this first resolution is actually just some of the administrative changes I need to make in our structure.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, if you would call the roll on this, please.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye.
The
Chris,
next
number 2.
bill is to amend the town personnel policy compensation to add the position of Deputy Chief of Police. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second, Robin.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll on that.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. And finally,
And the last item, Bill, is
the good
to
part.
approve. Okay, next item is to approve the promotion of Michael Desane from captain to deputy chief of police. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Second. Go right ahead, Jason. You got it.
Further discussion?
Bill, I just wanted to say that I'm not the least bit surprised to see that Mike Desane has moved up through the ranks of our department. I recall the first dinner awards banquet that I went to for the police department when I first joined the town board. I walked through the door. Mike Desane walked up to me, was barely in the room, introduced himself and congratulated me and looked forward to working with me. He was the only member of the police force that day that went out of his way to do the rank and file. Of course, the chief was there and such, but I was so impressed with him at that time and at every other time I've met with him. And I'm delighted to see that he's moved ahead and will now be our deputy chief of police.
Thanks, Chris. Anything further? We all know Captain Desane, soon to be Deputy Chief Desane, and it's a big occasion in his career. Nothing further. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Maley.
Congratulations, Deputy Chief Michael Desane. Aye. Robin, the next matter, please.
Certainly. The next matter, find my place here. I'm sorry.
The Environmental Management Council.
Yes, I'm sorry. The next matter seeks to appoint Paul Johnson as the town representative to the Monroe County Environmental Management Council by the Conservation Board. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second, Christine.
Any discussion?
Only to note that Mr. Johnson has jumped in eagerly and effectively on the Conservation Board and has kept us well updated from the start on the activities of the Environmental Management Council. So his appointment is solid.
Wonderful. Thank you. If there's nothing further, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado. Supervisor Maley.
Aye. Christine, the next one, please.
Yes, the next matter seeks to designate the Town Planning Board as lead agency under Secra for the 250 East River Road Laboratory for Laser Energetics Project number ER-3-22. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
I think I heard Chris Werner. Mike or Ken, either one of you, if you can amplify this one a little bit. Go for it. Thanks,
all right. So the University of Rochester has a number of buildings on its South Campus, which are part of a IPD, which was approved by the town board a number of years ago. And one of those buildings is the Laser Energetics Laboratory, which they are now seeking to expand. They have come to the planning board with a set of plans to expand. Some of their expansion plans run afoul of some of the restrictions that were made by the town board in the IPD regulations and the findings under the State Environmental Quality Review Act when the IPD was adopted by the town board. And what needs to happen now is that the university is seeking approval of the site plan with some additional mitigation measures to mitigate the incursion that is being made on essentially a wetland and upland habitat area. And there needs to be a new environmental review of this entire project. So the planning board is seeking to coordinate that environmental review with, among others, the town board, since the town board was instrumental in passing the IPD or enacting the IPD in the first place. And the planning board is proposing that the planning board, be designated as lead agency to make environmental determinations under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. So that is what is being requested of you. And you could agree with them and allow them to act as lead agency. That does not cut you out of the process at all. You will still be very much involved in the process of providing comments on the environmental impacts of this new modification to the site plan. And it is possible, because the plans are not finalized yet, that the university itself may be coming back to you to ask for a modification of the IPD regulations. If it does that, the town board, and only the town board, could modify those IPD regulations. The planning board does not have that authority. So I hope I haven't made this overly complicated, and I'm happy to answer your questions.
Any questions that anybody has? Certainly the planning board has been involved with this project now for several months. It has been on the agenda for several months. I know Ken and planning staff, Ramsey in particular, have been very, very actively involved and engaged with the university on this. And I do think it makes sense for the planning board to act as lead agency. Once we take that action, is the planning board's role as lead agency cast in concrete, if you will? Or if in fact the final scenario that you described, if the university modifies the request and comes in to actually seek town board amendment of the previous incentive zoning approval of the IPD, is it possible for a change in lead agency to occur at that time?
The simple answer is yes.
Okay.
The way that happens is somewhat complicated, but the simple answer is yes.
That was my recollection, and I'm not suggesting that that's something we need to anticipate at this time, or that it will come to pass. But I wanted to make sure I understood that potential scenario.
Well, we're hoping that the university follows through on its mitigation plans and provides mitigation in a way that permanently protects the wetlands that are going to be enhanced and the uplands that are going to be replaced, so that this town board and any future town board need not worry about the issue of incursion into those environmentally sensitive areas in the future. And if all of that happens, then this town board will not need to take any action to modify the IPD regulations. So we're hopeful that the university has heard loud and clear the message that Ramsey and I have been delivering to the university, that it needs to frankly protect the new enhanced wetland areas with a conservation easement as we've requested.
Great, thank you, Ken. Any further discussion? Hearing none, if Dan, please call the roll on that resolution.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Jason.
Yes, the next matter seeks to approve membership renewal with the Association of Towns of the State of New York for the year 2022 and designate the supervisor as official delegate to attend the annual business meeting of the association. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second, Chris.
And as I think you all know, unfortunately, due to COVID, the annual meeting has been converted into a remote meeting. That's the bad news. The good news is because the cost to attend a remote meeting is so much less, budgetarily, we can encourage all of our elected officials to attend. So if you haven't already, please connect with Bridget and we'll get you in for the very, very effective and helpful training portions of the annual meeting. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Christine.
The next matter seeks to set a public hearing for proposed tree removals at 190 Antlers Drive, 105 and 39 Sunset Drive, and 898 Clover Street. And let's see, I move that we set a public hearing on February 23rd at 7 p.m. to adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney. You got the time right this time, Ken.
Second, Robin.
Second, thank you, Robin. Any discussion on this? All pursuant to our town tree law, and you have pictures and materials with that. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Aye. Next item, Chris.
Unmute. Very good. Next item is to set a public hearing for proposed tree removals.
Next one.
Excuse me. The next item is to accept donation from Howard and Daphne Cohen in the amount of $500 for the police department. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Can I have a second, please?
Second, Christine.
Chris, you're no longer the police guy. You're now the tree and public works guy. So
yeah, I wonder why.
Hands off the police. I mean, hands off the trees. Yeah, I got it backwards. Do the police stuff.
Sorry, Christine. Stepped right in your high school there. Sorry.
Any discussion on this? Thank you to the Cohens for this very, very generous donation. Dan, please call the roll on the motion to accept it.
Councilmember DePonzio,
Aye.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy.
Matters of the supervisor. I want to talk a little bit more about RG&E related matters. But obviously earlier tonight, you heard the presentation about the Winton Road gas main project. This really is an important project for RG&E and for the safety and integrity of their gas system, but as you heard, for the Brighton community. So because we know it will cause disruption, particularly in the residential neighborhoods around the 12 corners, but also to traffic in what is one of the busiest and challenging intersections in Monroe County, I want to remind the public of all the opportunities they're going to have to learn more about this project. they have and will continue to engage with a number of interest groups, including the public safety agencies, particularly fire, which is right there and very much impacted at Station 2, the Chamber of Commerce for the business impact, the school district, two of their facilities, of course, 2 schools are right there, and the safety of the kids is so important. And also Brighton Neighbors United on behalf of all of the neighborhood associations. But the public at large on February 10th will have an opportunity to participate in a Zoom community meeting about the project that RG&E will be hosting. They will be mailing information about that to residents within a 1,000-foot radius. But we're going to make sure, because we know the impacts go beyond that radius, we're going to make sure their material is shared onto town social media and the webpage, as well as other social media sites serving the Brighton community. So that's February 10th at 7 p.m. And obviously tonight we set a public hearing to consider that amendment to the noise law that would allow work to be done at night. That public hearing will be on February 23rd at our town board meeting at 7 o'clock or shortly thereafter. So there will be information mailed out. There will be information on our webpage, on their webpage. We do want to make sure, because of the impact of this project, that as many people in Brighton know about it, because believe me, once construction starts, you're going to know about it. We want to make sure that this project goes off with as much input as we can get from all the stakeholders, particularly the public members who will be impacted. But that's not the only issue we've been talking with RG&E about over the last several months. You'll recall that last fall I gave 2 updates on street lighting and the status of repairs and maintenance and in the street lighting system. Tonight I'm going to give another update because frankly, things haven't gotten any better. In fact, they've probably gotten worse since last fall. A little basic information again. RG&E owns the neighborhood street lighting system. Residents who live in neighborhoods that have street lights pay for the electricity used to light those lights on their tax bills through a street lighting district. There are a number of street lighting districts throughout the town. RG&E provides that service and sets a rate for, well, the rate for that service is set under the terms of what is called a tariff, which is a regulatory determination made by the State Public Service Commission that impacts various aspects of the operation and the funding of RG&E's streetlights in our neighborhoods. It is not a contract that we negotiate with RG&E. Instead, it is really something that's set at the state level through a rate-making procedure with RG&E. Now, as I mentioned, I talked about this last fall. I think it's very real and worse. There has been a significant decline in the quality of RG&E's maintenance of their system during the past year. Lights that have been out have not been repaired in a timely manner. And as a result, because it takes longer to get those lights repaired, the number of outages in many of our neighborhood street lighting districts has significantly increased. Why? I think the biggest reason is that last year in 2021, RG&E changed their maintenance contractor, and it shows. I think even RG&E will acknowledge that to date, the performance of that contractor in responding to neighborhood streetlight outages, not only the single lights that go out, but also the more significant circuit outages where a whole street or a neighborhood is out, that the performance of that contractor, in my opinion, has been unacceptable. Last week, I saw, again, I received communications and saw some postings on social media that led me to believe that there were some neighborhood outages. I also received, as I have been, and I just, well, I received some information from our government relations representatives of some repairs that were reported back to them. So just as I did last fall, last Thursday night, I took a drive. I took a field trip. I drove through several of the neighborhoods where I had heard that there were problems. And I will tell you that I came home that night angry. I was angry, not just because of the number of lights and streets and neighborhoods where the street lights were out, but by the fact that in some cases, some of those very streets, some of those very street lights that now are out had just been reported back to me literally earlier that day by RG&E, getting, with reports from their maintenance contractor that some of those individual lights had been repaired. And by the time we got out there, they were down again, sometimes as part of these broader circuit outages. I was not a happy camper. Let me summarize. And those of you that are on these streets know this. All of Rhinecliff was out. 3 full-size blocks on Rhinecliff were out. All of Avalon, at least to the extent that Avalon has streetlights, was out. Entire blocks, in some cases multiple blocks, of Ambassador Drive, Hollywood, Newton, Vernon, and Glen Ellen were out, in addition to many individual lights throughout these streets as I drove through them. The outages in Meadowbrook were particularly disturbing. It was not the first time that circuit had been out. It was out in the fall. And as you'll recall me saying, even when the circuit was back up again, driving through Meadowbrook, every single street at that time in Meadowbrook had at least 3 lights, individual lights out, and in some cases as many as 6. Now we're back to a case where whole streets or whole blocks are out. And in addition, on streets where maybe the whole street wasn't out, we had, again, individual lights, many of them, including in some cases the so-called red tape lights, which are longer term lights where the fix is not as easy as just fixing a bulb. And again, in some cases, some of those lights were reported to me as having been fixed. I have been very direct. It's one of those diplomatic terms, direct, in expressing my deep frustration over the repair and maintenance of Brighton's streetlights with RG&E. When I got home that night, I sent a text message at about 10 o'clock, summarizing what I just described to you, to Brighton's government relations representatives at RG&E. And here, let me go back to what I was going to say a moment ago. To their credit, they responded almost immediately to my text, even though it was 10 o'clock at night on a Thursday night. And I have to say that that has been my experience the entire time I have served as supervisor, is that regardless of the frustrations that I've had with other parts of RG&E, our government relations representatives, whoever they have been over that time, have been responsive, even at off hours, very much understanding, and maybe most important, they have the ear of other people in the RG&E organization, whether it's in the operations side or even in senior management. Thanks to those representatives, they saw to it that work began on identifying the cause of some of those outages the very next morning. There's still work to be done, but because they heard me loud and clear that night, they got their folks out the next day troubleshooting. And you know, when you get these circuits that are out, really it's a three-step process. They have to first find where the problem is. Then they have to figure out what the fix is. And then they have to actually fix it. So it's 3 steps. It doesn't happen overnight, but at least thanks to those representatives, the work began right away. Also, thanks to those representatives who have repeatedly shared my extreme frustration with RG&E's performance, I had the opportunity to meet directly in person here at Town Hall with the president of RG&E, not only to express frustration about streetlights, but also some concerns about the Winton Road project that we've been discussing tonight, as well as some other ongoing and really very significant frustration with RG&E's performance. I know that meeting would not have happened but for the recognition of the seriousness of the problem and the willingness of our government service reps to jump on it and address the problem. But to a certain extent, those, you know, the repair work, those are really Band-Aids, particularly when it comes to the street lighting system. What's really going to be important over the next few years is that we do expect RG&E to make a significant investment in upgrading the street lighting system in Brighton with some major underground and on the pole infrastructure enhancements. Those enhancements will not only allow RG&E to upgrade their street lighting, neighborhood street lighting system to an LED-based system, which will be involve much less use of electricity, therefore reducing carbon generation, but also a more reliable system with bulbs that last longer and new infrastructure that hopefully won't go down as repeats some of these circuits now go down. That's going to be a 3, 4, 5-year project. I hope 3. But in any event, that's going to be another project that is going to be somewhat disruptive in our neighborhoods because it does involve underground work. It does involve laying new conduit. And so I think mostly tree lawns are going to be dug up in those neighborhoods as the projects go on. Right now, and as we know, any kind of construction is challenging right now in terms of timing, getting materials. As of right now, the Struckmar neighborhood along and to the east of Winton Road, north of the 12 Corners, is scheduled to be the first neighborhood they're going to be working in, and that work is scheduled to begin next year. I have raised some concerns about that work and the interaction with the Winton Road project, but at the moment, that is the part of the street lighting project they expect to begin next year. In the meantime, we will not accept the level of maintenance that we've seen. I will not be shy about calling out RG&E if their performance doesn't improve, and we will continue to keep our residents apprised, particularly using social media. But I want to encourage everybody. As satisfying as social media can feel, it's really not the place to start. if you see a street light out, if you see a bunch of street lights out, your street out, the best place to start in terms of getting the ball rolling, in terms of getting it fixed, is to report the outage on RG&E's street lighting system. There is a link on the Town of Brighton webpage. It is perhaps the longest link that I have ever seen, so I'm not going to pretend to try to read it all out to you. But if you go to the Town of Brighton webpage, and in the search, just search for report streetlight outage. And the first thing that pops up will be this paragraph long link. Click on the link. It will take you to RG&E's site for reporting a streetlight outage. There's really two pieces of information you need. One is the pole number, the number of the pole that is out. If there are multiples, obviously, if you can get, each of those pole numbers, those numbers are generally found at the top of the pole, just below the fixture, the harp lamp or globe fixture. But also, and of course the street, but also a street address, preferably of the house that pole is right in front of, but another, if you can't see it, and that's a whole nother issue, folks, please remember to keep your addresses well lit so our emergency agencies can find you. But give them a street address so they can find that pole number as easily as possible. That's a lengthy report. It's an ongoing issue. It's one we're going to continue to address vigorously with RG&E. And at that, I'll leave it there. Matters of the town attorney. Ken, do you have anything other than, I know we're going to go into executive session after the open meeting?
Just very briefly, Supervisor, I just wanted to put out an invitation to community-minded individuals that the town is still looking to fill a vacancy on the Zoning Board of Appeals. We really need to fill that spot, and we're looking for folks who are interested in helping preserve Brighton to be the wonderful place it is to live, work, and raise a family. And so if you're interested, please contact the supervisor's office. You could also contact me if you have some questions, or Mike Guyon, our Commissioner of Public Works, or Rick DiStefano in the Public Works Department. That's for the Zoning Board of Appeals. We're also seeking a candidate for the Conservation Board who would be serving with other members who are interested in preserving the environment and being sensitive to our trees, especially because the Conservation Board does serve also as our tree council here in the town of Brighton. So if you have any interest at all, and we have so many talented people who are so energized and interested in our community, I know that there must be some wonderful people out there who would like to give their time to the town and work with us at Town Hall and with your fellow residents on the Zoning Board of Appeals and on the Conservation Board. That's all I have tonight, Supervisor.
Thanks very much. I'm glad you mentioned that, Ken, because it really is important. And all I will add is that we are hopeful that we will make those boards and all of our volunteer boards as richly diverse in all the many ways that Brighton is diverse as we possibly can. So I really do. I want to encourage everybody in the town. You may not have ever thought of yourself as someone who would volunteer for something like this, but it's a very rewarding and very important volunteer opportunity for people that do have the talent and inclination to work in those areas. Moving on, matters of the town clerk, Dan.
I'm actually want to skip me for the moment if you could.
Sure. Matters of any members of We may not be able to skip you for very long, Dan.
Yeah, that didn't really buy me any time.
Anybody heard any good jokes?
No, so what I was trying to buy time for, I was trying to create a usable redirect for that Argini streetlight out. But I haven't gotten it working just yet. So I'll make sure and let Bridget know, but something to the, I don't want to say what it is in case that's not what it ends up being, but townofbrighton.org/something short.
Perfect.
Is what it'll be. And it'll
Love
just
it.
redirect right to the page. You don't have to worry about the link. And that way too, if the link changes, it'll be evergreen and we'll be good to go. So hopefully that'll make it easier for everybody to report them. For what it's worth, reporting them is kind of like saying, stop, or I'll say stop again. But
it is, but you know what it does? It gives us a record. And right now, it's important that we have that record and can demonstrate over and over again the frequency and the importance of those outages.
I've been talking to or hearing from a lot of residents as tax collection has started. They have their own thoughts on streetlights and Argini. I will save the colorful language as this is being recorded. But putting our payments to Argini in some sort of escrow fund and holding it until they actually live up to their contract, something that to the non-attorney seems like a good idea. I have nothing else this evening. Just tax collection continues. Due date February 10th. You can pay in the office. We have the 2 drop boxes, rear of Town Hall, entrance number 9, which is available 24/7, and the second drop box in the public safety lobby, 8 to 6, Monday through Friday. Of course, mail also works. Any questions, please call the office and we'll be happy to answer anything we can for you.
Thanks, Dan. And again, I believe we have no matters of the town board. So can I have a motion to go into executive session to discuss a matter of real estate?
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Malley?
Aye. I do not expect that we'll be coming back out into open session following that executive session. So just a reminder, the next meeting of the town board is February 9th at 7 p.m. It will be again held remotely. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay warm. Please give those plow drivers, when you see them, plenty of room. And we'll see you again on February 9th. Thank you and have a great evening, everybody.